Anyway, I think it would be useful just to go around the room now and find out from you individually what you want out of today's programme. So, Kelvin, can I start with you? What would you like out of today? What have you come in for?
And so what I'm going to do now is explain a little bit more about how the NetGain programme actually works. And we're running a little bit late, but I can talk fast if you can listen fast. And I'm going to try and bring us a bit back on time. So Tony's captured from you some of these things that are absolutely spot on, the sort of things we want to be helping you with in terms of NetGain. And so this is how we think these things will address what you've identified there. We want to introduce you to some planning techniques. I mean, most of you are decision makers in your organisation and managers, so you will be used to planning, but you may not be used to planning for ICT. And what we're trying to do is give you a set of frameworks where you can gather information together, make decisions on it with help from other people who may be more technically expert than you, bringing in somebody, for example, a volunteer. Somebody mentioned using a volunteer, and bringing that person in to assist you when you've already laid down your needs within these frameworks we're going to show you later. Somebody there's mentioned making sure we're on the right track, which is absolutely right. What we're saying is that NetGain is about look before you leap. And it's about this whole thing about having to get information about ICT from all sorts of areas and then having mechanisms to sift it and understand it and refine it so that you can then be in control, which is something else I think has come out here, and make the decisions based on all the information that you're gathering as a manager, and you're asking the right questions and getting back the answers you want rather than just being told stuff about ICT and how whizzy and buzzy it is. Understanding your own technology requirements better, having been enabled to ask the right questions, and people have mentioned the difficulty of not feeling in control of their systems. I was looking on the internet when I came, before I came today, to see if I could find some sort of quotes about, you know, how everybody else is in the same boat, and I found one that isn't quite fair, I don't think, but I think I'll share it with you anyway. And that is that there are two sorts of people involved with technology. Those who understand the technology, whose job it is to manage it, and those who manage the technology and actually don't understand it. And I don't think that's quite fair, because a lot of people, and we know them, who are in small organisations that have got understanding the technology right and are charged with managing it, those are the people that seem to be able to take the technology forward in their organisation. But there is this big gap. And I'm one of those people. I don't really understand technology, and that's why I think it's been useful for me to help put this programme together, because I know where you're coming from, because I don't really understand technology either. Just run through very quickly how we structured the membership. You'll notice we are calling it a membership. We don't want you just to regard today as a workshop that you come to, you know, you sit around, chat to some interesting people, have a few insights, and that's the end of it. We structured NetGain so that this centre will help you over a whole year, and you will help each other over a whole year, and hopefully you'll meet other groups as well. So we've got groups of 8, 10, 12 people who are all able to exchange experience with each other. So this first workshop is just to introduce you to the framework, the concepts and the processes. We've written a guide which is going to include all of the frameworks that I've talked about that we will be using to collect the information, and we'll give you that this afternoon. Making contacts with your peers, as Tony said earlier, absolutely vital, because you know a lot more than you think you know, and you can exchange information and issues, problems and challenges with each other. There'll be a follow-up workshop, we're going to talk about that later, and I think that's going to address the knowing what's out there. Workshop 2 is going to be much more about a technical fair, where you can come along and see what other people have done and look at things on the screen and poke buttons and see what happens and think, yes, well, I might like to investigate that further, or I didn't know you could do that and it was that cheap. So those sorts of things. There's online support. We're going to look at that over lunchtime. There's a system called Experts Online that my own organisation has been running for several years now, where you can ask a question and get an answer back usually within a day, and that's not just about ICT, because we all know from what you said, ICT doesn't stand alone over here. It's all tied up with legal issues and data security, as you said, Patrick. It's all tied up with staff management. So there's lots and lots of issues where you can ask questions and get an answer, not least a technical answer. We've called it a membership, and there will be some added value support from this centre and some national offers and opportunities, and I'll talk about those a bit more in a minute. And then we actually want you to finish the process. There'll be an intensive 3-month, 4-month period, and then a period where you'll actually be working on your own plan, and you can come back to the centre for support and have those benefits. Now, for those of you who are a bit more visual, I'll just flip forward to say the same thing again with this slide here. Basically, when we get the whole thing running for proper, you'll have been to a promotional event already, and that's why you'll have come here. And we'll hope that's where we'll have sold you the benefits of today and the engagement and what you can get out of it. This is us doing workshop 1. In about 6 weeks' time, we're going to do the technical fair and the clinics and talk to you about what you might like in a follow-up workshop. That's something that Keith wants to get out to you later in the day. We're calling that workshop 2. And then there'll be a final workshop, and we hope that one of the things that some of you will do is present your whole experience back to the group, about how far you've got, what worked for you, what didn't, and so that you can help each other again and we can help define the process. So at least a day and a couple of half days commitment there, but also some commitment back in your own organisation, because one of the key things, as I'm going to show you in a minute, we thought, how can we demonstrate to the people who are funding this, the Home Office, that you are actually learning something from this process? Because you might go back to base today with your guide, you might have a look at it, you might keep it on your bedside table and have it for reading before you go to bed. We've made it very readable. How can we prove it's done your organisation any good at all? So what we've come up with, and this is in the guide, is this progress chart. So I'll just put that around now. And what we're hoping that will help you do is 2 things, basically. First of all, it will help you to decide what to do next after you've left us today. And when we've given you the guide and we say goodbye and thank you, we don't want it to be goodbye and thank you. We've got 10 steps here, each one a framework, and I'll talk about those in a little bit more detail later. That's down the side of the page here, your 10 steps. And we want you to have a go at each of those steps of collecting information, as you would when you were planning, back at base. And what this chart will help you do is to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to have a go at that. I'm going to do this activity that they offer us in the guide, or actually I've done something already, I've got this information already, I've talked to my staff, I know what we need, like Sid said earlier. So I'm going to gather that information. I'm going to say who's responsible. It may be me, it may be somebody else. I'm going to involve some other people, because doing it by yourself is going to be difficult, and it's best to bounce ideas off each other. Could be a volunteer, could be a trustee, could be a pro bono consultant, could be somebody from another organisation. I'm going to plan to do it on a certain date. Actually, I'm going to do it by another date. I'm going to try and get it done. And I'm going to note down what I've learnt from that process. And maybe it was, I didn't need to do that process actually, because I already knew all that. Or it may be, that was very useful. I had an insight that I didn't think I'd get. And you'll just note this down on here, and then we'll sign it off. Yes, I had to go at that step and I learned something from it. So we're trying to help you to record your learning. Plan your time, record your learning, and then you and we get a brownie point when you sign this off because you had to go at it. And it's at that stage that these carrot stick, these membership deals at the centre start to kick in. And some of the national agreements that we've got, the discounts and so on, which I'll mention in a minute, they kick in as well when you've jumped through this little hoop here. Now, we don't expect